I've heard several people in media interviews saying what I would assume how you feel, that like, do not be doing this in our name.
Get my religion out of your goddamn mouth.
You're just trying to quell free speech, and you're just trying to control universities because they are, bastions of liberalism. So, like, if you want to do that, that's bad, but definitely don't do it in my name.
Yeah. Welcome to Seriously, the podcast that dives into the baffling.
We can't send them to a prison where there's animals, where there's livestock.
The ridiculous.
Like omelets better than sex.
And downright unbelievable political climate in red states like Louisiana.
So we can't go there. There's no vegan jail.
Seriously. Seriously.
Welcome to Seriously. We're your hosts. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ellie.
And today we're just going to go through some current Seriously stuff. Some of it good.
Yep.
Some of it questionable.
Some of it decidedly bad.
Some of it, decidedly bad.
A lot of stuff has been going on. I mean, I guess per the usual, but yeah.
Yeah. Where do you think we should start?
I kind of want to start with SNAP.
Okay.
And then maybe the elections.
Sure.
I kind of want to start with SNAP, of course, because number one, I was right. And as everyone knows, I love being right. But it's actually worse than I thought. So last week I had said that, federal judges had told the Trump administration that they have to fund SNAP, that there is a contingency fund, that the law both allows them to, and therefore they are required to fund SNAP. And that it sort of looked like what the Trump administration was going to do was slow walk it. Which is 100% what happened. Like last week we were talking about it then. They were supposed to come to court with some sort of like plan for what they were going to do like on that Monday. So the plan was to fund it by half, which is already like, what the fuck? And that it might take a long time. Like it might be really hard and it might be like weeks or months before they were able to really operationalize it.
Yeah.
So like by the end of the week, then I guess it must have been clear to the plaintiffs in that case that actually the government wasn't doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is like pretty predictable. When I was saying last week that I've seen this happen before, this is exactly how it goes. That like anytime you get, or not anytime, but this has happened to me several times. You get an injunction against the government that says you have to do X. And they're like, okay, well, we'll start doing it, but it's going to be really hard. It's going to be like a lot of administrative stuff, but like we'll start doing it. And then you're like waiting, watching, calling, whatever. And then it becomes pretty clear that like they're not doing shit. So then, of course, you go back to court and say, hi, judge, they're not doing shit. Like tell them again that they have to do it. So that's what happened. And the judge was super pissed and was like, no, really, you have to do it. Do it now. Start doing it. So yeah, the slow walking in full effect. And then not only that, but when the second ruling from the federal judge came out that said like, no, seriously, start doing it. Then now the Trump administration has appealed the ruling.
Mm-hmm.
They're appealing it. That like they should not have to fund SNAP. And in fact, J.D. Vance, I just heard this morning, when asked about this, then he was like, we're going to follow the law. We're not going to follow what a federal judge says. We're going to follow the law. So
as an expert by who? Him?
Them.
All right.
And we're not going to follow a federal, like that is the law. You have to follow what the federal fucking judge says.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I knew they were going to slow walk it, and that was going to be a problem. But I didn't think that politically they would want to, like, for it to be obvious that they are resisting this. Because, Trump said, like I said last time, that, like, it would be, if it's legal, it would be his honor to do it. Well, no, they've decided for whatever reason that they're fine optically with it being, for people who are paying attention at least, which presumably even SNAP beneficiaries are somewhat paying attention, that they're fine with it being like, no, we don't want to do it. And we're not going to do it unless, I don't know, the Supreme Court says we have to. So they've appealed it. They're not doing it. Now they've appealed it. They're waiting for the appellate court to weigh in. In the interim, then they asked the Supreme Court to stay the decision while, waiting for the appeals court to come out. And that happened last night. The decision was stayed. So I don't know. So no one knows what's going to happen. Presumably, the appeals court will again say that they have to do it, which obviously then they're going to appeal to the Supreme Court. Like, it's really unbelievable. Like, why would they not just fucking fund SNAP?
I don't know. But what happened in Louisiana, so because Louisiana said, okay, we're going to pay SNAP benefits during the shutdown
From our own funds.
from our own funds. And so people got their deposit of their SNAP benefits on their debit cards. And then when the government said, okay, well, we're going to do partial payments, they took the money back. So that was happening this week in Louisiana. People at the beginning of the week had money, and then it was taken out of their accounts.
Which is unbelievable and bizarre anyway, and particularly since it was only ever going to get funded by half. But I wonder what they'll do now. Like when this is in limbo and or, when possibly the Supreme Court says like, nah, you guys don't have to do it. Really. Good advice would be if at any time money ends up back on your EBT card.
Go to the grocery
First,
store.
right then, spend it all right away.
Yeah.
Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Go straight to the store, spend all the money.
Yeah. Or as Rep. Higgins would say, create your
stockpile with the $239, or maybe I guess the 150, 190, whatever, spend it all. I mean, it's just whatever. It's unconscionable. It's stupid. And apparently the Trump administration does not think that it looks bad for them politically, which is also just really bizarre to me, because I know they think of this as like a quote, when Trump said he was going to cut Democrat programs, it's that quote Democrat program. But like, as we've already discussed, I mean, there are
2 million people.
Yes. And tons of them, of course, many of them being in states like Louisiana, are going to be Republicans. White people who are Republicans. Like, they're on staff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there were
Good news, though.
elections.
Good news, though.
Let's
Yeah.
look at the election. I would say just in general, big positive week for women, progressives in some places, for reproductive rights.
For Democrats, for democracy.
The biggest wins are Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. One of the things that makes her win so significant is that Virginia now will have this opportunity to do a reproductive freedom amendment.
Well, because also they took a ton of seats in their legislature.
Right.
Yeah. It's like plus 13 or something like that now. It was like plus 1 or maybe plus 2 before in their, like, I think it's called the House of Delegates or whatever, but their congressional body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's big,
Mhm.
and would be super helpful.
She's also the first woman to ever be elected governor of Virginia,
Which is like one of the first states
that existed.
Yeah.
That's true. It was cute. I don't know if you heard, like, in her acceptance speech, then she said her husband, whatever his name is, Adam, or so, she was like, Adam said, like, earlier, like, to our daughters, like, girls, looks like your mom is going to be the governor of Virginia. And I can tell you, that's the first time in history that statement has ever been said.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Yeah, that is cute. Mikey Sherrill won the race for governor in New Jersey.
Which other cute note that I told you before is that Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger were roommates their freshman year in Congress. They lived together in DC. So I think that's super cute.
Yeah.
That like now they're very good friends. They used to be roommates and now they're the governor of their state. Pretty exciting.
It's very cute.
And that race was also supposed to be close. I
But
mean,
it
like,
was
not at all. Neither of them were close at all.
Yeah.
Like, not at all. And I think that's probably the big story with this in terms of, like, hopefully good news for the midterms, for democracy, for checks on Trump's authority, all of that. Because these are blue or bluish states.
Yeah.
So like it's not overwhelmingly surprising, particularly like an off year that that a Democrat would win. But like they won huge numbers in counties that Trump had won.
Double digit.
Yeah, it's like 15 points and 13 points. Yeah. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's people making their voices heard in like a resounding way.
Yeah.
And that was true with the down ballot races. It was true in Georgia, their Public Service Commission. There's 2 Democrats that were elected there. So it's a statewide election. It's like the first time in like 20 years, maybe more than that Democrats like have been elected, not just to those positions, but in a statewide election, not like for Congress.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania,
yeah. The Supreme Court in Pennsylvania was able to keep their majority, again, which is super important for protecting abortion rights in that state.
Yes. Yeah. California, ballot initiative.
Ballot initiative, which is going to allow California to redistrict, which is great.
Right, to combat that Texas insanity and or whomever.
And honestly, with Spanberger being elected in Virginia would have an opportunity to redistrict there too and maybe eke out a few more seats.
And again, that ballot initiative passed by a ton, and there was huge voter turnout. All these elections, there was huge voter turnout. People were very motivated, so that's a good sign. And another interesting side note with the redistricting stuff too, and like the huge wins, is that so Kansas has now already announced that they're not going to redistrict, and like there's been some talk about that in states like that and with some of these other legislatures that there might be more concern about doing it. So meaning, the way it works is if you're a Republican in +8 district, then you need to pull some of that away to another district. You have to water down Republican votes in Republican districts by adding them into what would be Democrat districts in order to do it.
But then you make those
correct
safe districts less safe.
Yeah. So like again, the really high turnout and like large margins in these races have made some Republicans be like no thanks. Like please don't.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. I mean, they should have known, at least in Virginia, because so many of the people that live in Virginia, at least, the part of Virginia that butts up against Washington, D.C.,
everyone's lost their job.
Yeah, like all those people lost their damn jobs because of Doge and
and now they're Doge. Yeah, but I mean, they already had lost their job. This was fucking Doge. Yeah.
So
other fun things with the shutdown too that people aren't going to like, including maybe you and me. I mean, I'm very hopeful that this gets resolved, the shutdown meaning before Thanksgiving, but they're canceling flights. Yeah, like the FAA has decided, and I don't know if this is actually based on data or just based on politics, but either way, that they're requiring airports, like major airports, to reduce their flights by 10%. It's going up to like 15% in a few days. So hundreds of flights are being canceled like across the country.
Yeah.
So people aren't going to like that. People don't like most of what's happening with the shutdown.
Yeah, now you can't get home to your family, which actually for families who are depending on SNAP benefits, maybe it's better that their family doesn't come visit this year because they're not going to be able to afford to buy food for Thanksgiving anyway.
Yeah, that's true. It also is something that will affect rich people. And so that sometimes helps with shutdowns, of course. But when I say you and me, like you and I are both supposed to travel at Thanksgiving. That's so fingers crossed that.
I swear to God, it's a trip that I'm planning with my daughter to take her to New York over the Thanksgiving week gets canceled. She will lose her mind because this trip got canceled when we had it planned in 2018 because my dad went into the hospital. And I am just now rescheduling it. It's all planned, got tickets, hotels. Yeah.
I know. I was thinking about this last night. I was like, yeah, this is sort of a moment where you're like, not to make this about me. Like, I mean, I have kids that the government shutdown was forcing people to, work without being paid and, not get their SNAP benefits and all sorts of other shit that's happening. But it is not wrong that when it feels like it's something that's about to happen to you, then it is even more annoying.
Yeah.
Get your shit together, Republicans.
I want to note one other, well, we have two others, but another first woman to be elected to an office, Mary Sheffield, Detroit, first mayor, first woman to be elected mayor in the city's history.
Oh, that's
which
exciting.
is also pretty awesome.
Well, other first, we didn't even talk about this yet, was Mamdani, of course,
There we
in New York City, first Muslim mayor of a very, very diverse city, who also won resoundingly, also tons of turnout in that election, defeated Andrew Cuomo, that piece of shit,
who sexual harasser and abuser,
who failed governor who, like, while going on TV and looking pretty good during early in COVID, turns out was like actually allowing tons of like people to die in nursing homes, and then has like credibly been accused of sexually harassing like a shit ton of people, and he had to leave office because of those things. Notwithstanding that, then much of the Democratic establishment backed him and or would not support Mamdani. And the Republicans are losing their minds, being so insane about like Mamdani being some sort of insane socialist. And like he's very progressive. That's like undeniable. And people can agree or disagree with like his specific policy proposals. Also, we'll see what happens when like, what can you actually get done? But he is a great candidate. He is a charismatic person. He's a good guy who people like. He cares about working people. New Yorkers are excited about him. Like, so like let's go. Let's see what happens.
He has an all-female transition team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
Well,
of course, Trump, meanwhile, was before the election, and I'm sure this will continue, actively threatening to withhold federal funding to New York City if that mayor was democratically elected. Like, just, I mean, that's unbelievable. Like, I don't agree with what the voters did, and so I'm going to not give the city funding that's been allocated. I mean, it's just,
The reaction to Mamdani is insane on a lot of levels.
It is.
The most insane is the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, has set up a special project to, quote, track and monitor Mamdani's like administration policies and appointments.
So the purpose being because I guess the purpose being that they want it to seem like that before he does anything, that he's probably going to be doing some anti-Semitic shit. So we got to be watching, right?
The ADL used to be an incredibly necessary and reputable organization.
Particularly on free speech and on identifying and calling out hate groups. I used to love the idea.
But recently they're just a mouthpiece for Netanyahu. And I guess as a Jewish person, like at some point, the way that people are reacting to Mamdani has to be seen as it's just anti-Muslim. Like it's not, we're, trying to defeat anti-Semitism or anything like that. Like it's insane. They're like, oh, we elected a Muslim, so now we have to track and monitor everything that he does.
I mean, the like accusations against him for being anti-Semitic, from what I can tell, and also obviously since millions of New Yorkers have now voted to elect him, like are baseless. I mean, like the evidence is he's Muslim and he supports human rights for folks in Gaza.
I mean that's critical of the Israeli government for the war crimes that they are committing in Gaza.
Which one of my general annoyances, and we haven't talked about this that much or maybe at all, is the conflating of those two things, right? That like people who criticize the Netanyahu like dictatorship / war crime government if you criticize that government, then you are de facto anti-Semitic. Like that's bullshit. And but it's a great thing to have like a quiver in your whatever. Like, if you say anything bad about me, then that makes you anti-Semitic. Like
That's crazy. And then the other crazy thing is they're just completely ignoring the actual threat to Jews in this country, which is white Christian nationalism. It's literally Stephen Miller.
Yes.
And the Trump administration, they are the ones that are basically perpetrating an anti-Semitic assault on this country and a free speech assault on this country, which used to be something that the ADL cared about. It's wild.
It's wild. I mean, it's been disturbing, like the extent to which Mamdani has gotten pushed back from all sides. Again, he's very popular. Give the guy a shot. Stop accusing him of things that have no basis in reality, and just let's move. But
I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask him questions about this, which he's been asked questions, but he's never he hasn't given any indication that he is anti-Semitic other than being critical of the Israeli government's handling of Palestinian people.
Yes, and their human rights. It's also just I think it's a tone deafness in the Democratic Party, and I mean also with Republicans, I guess, in terms of just what they're trying to put on whom. That I mean, in the United States at this point, then people are very much in favor of people in Gaza having human rights. So average people don't see that as being anti-Semitic. They don't see that as being, as opposed to Israel's right to exist. Which to me, it's not. These are not things that are opposed. That's a popular position. So what he's talking about is popular. So people just need to understand that, and that there's good reason for that. Why would people not be in favor of a supposedly democratic government occupying a territory, bombing it all the time, not letting people leave, and not letting aid in so that kids are starving? I mean, why would anyone be in favor of that?
Well, I mean, that's basically what our government is doing.
But I wanted to say, so along these lines, then I was telling you before, then there's this thing called Project Esther that the Heritage Foundation has rolled out, which is sort of like the blueprint and basis for what the Trump administration is doing with universities, putting pressure on them, trying to regulate them, doing insane takeovers basically of universities under the theory that these universities are being anti-Semitic and or allowing anti-Semitic views to be, propagated on campus, and Jewish students are being harmed, blah, 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 blah. All the protests back in the day, I mean, there was a lot going on, and it was hard for schools to handle. And did they handle that stuff perfectly? Probably not, but that's basically just being used as an excuse to take over universities and to quell free speech.
Yeah.
And it's being done in the name of Jewish Americans.
Yeah.
So I've heard several people in media interviews saying what I would assume how you feel, that do not be doing this in our name.
Get my religion out of your goddamn mouth.
You're just trying to quell free speech, and you're just trying to control universities because they are, bastions of liberalism. So, if you want to do that, that's bad, but definitely don't do it in my name.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. And I guess the thing about this, monitoring, this tracker or whatever, I mean, who knows how this is actually going to work? But I mean, what are people going to report to this? So, one of, these, free grocery stores or whatever, grocery store co-op things that Mamdani was talking about, if they don't build one of those on the Upper West Side, and that's obviously anti-Semitic.
That's what I mean too. That
not that the people on the Upper West Side need cheap access.
And also, that's what I think is funny about it. I assume that really the messaging strategy of this is just we assume he's going to be doing doing shit. They don't need a reporting system for tracking policies. Like, they can track policies are like things that are announced, like that's public information. You could like develop, you could assess all of that and come out with a report.
Yeah.
But like this, like, yeah, what's being reported?
Well, I mean, I think it's just like people can report to the ADL, hey, look into this. You should track this. You should monitor. You should monitor that we are not getting a free grocery store in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods, Jewish neighborhoods in New York City. Yeah.
I just want people to back off. Back off. Let the guy, like, he's young, he's smart, he's super charismatic, he's got bold ideas that may or may not work. Just give the guy a chance. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Also Heritage Foundation.
Always up to
We
good
could
stuff.
literally
Always up to
We
good
could
stuff.
track and monitor the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Let's just track and monitor their bullshit.
Because also they're not a public, they're a private organization. So there isn't a lot of transparency other than when they come out with their awesome plans like Project 2025 and Project Esther.
And this new one where they're calling on HHS, Health and Human Services, and RFK Jr. to commission a safety study on oral contraception.
Oh, so this is, I guess, the natural outgrowth of those folks trying to question the safety of mifepristone, based on decades of research to try to overregulate and or to repeal the current regulations that allow for access to mifepristone. Then this is again how the next natural thing is that what else probably isn't safe, even though there's decades of research. Birth control.
So they want the government to fund and craft junk science that they can use.
Well, they've got the junk.
Say that the pill is dangerous.
Got the junk non-scientist in chief with RFK. I was going to say the junk scientist, but he's not a scientist.
He is not.
Like the greatest supporter of junk science.
Who knows if he'll take this up? I don't know that this is a priority for him, but I'm sure that there's enough people within the Trump administration that would love to do this that maybe he'll get some pressure.
Along these lines, I heard like some reporting recently that OBs are very worried that there's currently just a ton of misinformation like on TikTok and shit about, side effects of birth control, safety issues of birth control, which is of course what the heritage, this is and the right does this in lots of ways. I've seen this other times where like they put out their own studies that then they have someone else cite like it's super circular. Like it's actually just the same people. The exact same people are putting out the evidence and then having your friend like cite that as, see, here's this evidence and we're doing this other thing, but it's really just like three people that are doing it. So it's like the TikTok people and then they're like, look at the TikTok people. Like we need to be studying this. There's a big issue with misinformation. But the flip side also being one of these doctors was saying, and I do think that the medical establishment needs to be thinking about this and reckoning with it, is that part of why that's happening is that there's a vacuum on the side of information, and not just on TikTok, but when people go to their doctor and are asking for like options, that doctors don't spend much time telling you shit. They don't really listen to women when they say that, like, I think I'm having these side effects and like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like, the truth is, I mean, it's hormonal birth control. It does, I was on those pills for years and years and years. I never had any side effects. I know other people that don't feel that way, that feel like they didn't like it, and so doctors not listening to that is not smart. When women say that, like with anything else, I'm having this pregnancy complication, they also get ignored with that, like I feel like that these hormones are making me feel like X, Y, and Z. They get ignored with that.
Yeah.
So doctors need to listen, because there's a million different pills with a million different makeups of what the hormones are.
Yeah.
And there's also other types of birth control. So there is an issue here in terms of like, I think not listening to people and not trying to figure out on a patient by patient basis what would be best for them.
Right.
It's perfectly safe. There's nothing that is unsafe about this. But, I think there is a
And people react to different ways, and what method works for one person may not work for another.
just literally within the birth control pill space.
Right.
Then the hormonal makeup of different brands is very different.
Yeah.
So that's the part that is real.
Yeah.
But then it's being used on TikTok by anti-birth control people to make it not seem that's what's going on. So women are going off of birth control in a world where you can't get an abortion legally in a lot of states, and where it's being obviously driven by people who want that to happen, who are anti-birth control. And then, now we're going to use that to try to come up with some fake science saying that it's not safe.
Yep.
That's the loop.
Yep. And they're going to teach that in tradwife class.
Well, in tradwife class,
the students for life are the worst. They're the ones that
they are
really,
they're very anti-birth. No,
pushing this on social media.
Yes, that's right. And you and I were just speaking to a group before this and was saying that there are fringe elements of the right to life who are openly anti-birth control, even though the mainstream folks are like, shh, stop saying that. It's like, stop saying that out loud. Like, we're just going to do some studies and put some shit out on TikTok and whatever. But those student groups have for a while been very open with, and they do base it on this kind of bullshit about like people don't know the side effects, such safety, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they actively want birth control to not be a constitutional right or be heavily regulated or banned.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that at least sometimes the young people say this stuff out loud.
I'll have to find some of the videos
that
they do, and maybe we'll put one in just so if people aren't following Students for Life on social media, you have an idea of the crazy shit that they're saying.
This is Plan B. It says will not harm existing pregnancy. So it says on the big thing, remember it says, it's birth control. It's not a big deal, Kristen. This product works mainly by preventing ovulation, that's contraception, not abortion. It may also prevent fertilization, released egg. Okay, not abortion, contraceptive, or attachment of a fertilized egg. Google that word, Google fertilized egg, because it's embryo, to the uterus implantation. Plan B is an abortifacient. Pass it on.
Planned Parenthood's own research arm says that more than half of women who had abortions report that they were using contraception at the time. So we know it's not working. It's not working. And Students for Life, we're a secular organization, so we don't take a stance specifically on barrier method contraceptives like diaphragms, or condoms or female condoms, but we do take a stance against any chemical that could potentially end the life of a human being. That's hormonal birth control, that's IUDs, that's Depo-Provera shot. That's what the majority of American women are on.
Louisiana Republicans held a especially stupid session to move the election dates next year, because what they're hoping for is that the decision in the Louisiana v. Calais case at the Supreme Court, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, they think that decision is going to come down early.
The theory of the session was that that decision is going to change the map. And so they're going to need time to implement a new map, right? So that sort of makes sense in theory. I mean, they are going to need time to implement a new map. But yes, what's the timing of this, Michelle, in reality?
The Supreme Court is going to say best case scenario for the anti-democracy Republicans in Louisiana. What they want the Supreme Court to say is that you don't have to do Section 2.
Yeah, well, there is that they'll say, number one, that the old map is out, you need a new map, and draw it however you want.
Yeah, and draw and they're not going to say you have to draw it before the next election. So they do not have to. They can keep the current map for the next election and then redraw it after that. But instead, they've decided, we're going to move the dates. So they've pushed everything back basically a month.
Well, not only are they not going to say you have to do it, I mean, as we talked about before, the current map has been, an election has already happened under it. There's never going to be a scenario where they're like, an election cannot stand under this map.
That's right.
Yes.
So they
But
will not be obligated
Yeah.
to draw a new map.
And they won't be obligated to draw a new map at all, to be clear.
Yeah.
But the timing of it also doesn't make any sense because the election was in March. Is that right?
The party primary was scheduled for April, so they're pushing that to May. Everything's basically moving a month. So qualifying was supposed to be January. Well, if we don't have a decision and there isn't a new map, then we don't know what the districts will be. So no one who may want to run will know which district they live in to qualify to run in that district because they don't know what district they live in.
But the reality is the map is what it is now.
Right.
That's what it is. So people will qualify in that district. Then the issue is like, will there be enough time to switch it up?
Yeah.
Then the stupidity of this is that the Supreme Court is very unlikely to rule in this case before the end of June. That is the reality.
Louisiana thinks that they're going to rule before then.
The cases heard in the fall then get decided in the new year. In theory, stuff can start coming out in January, and decisions start coming out between January and the end of June, the end of June being the end of the term. Almost universally, big decisions that are controversial come out at the very, very end of June. Because this is an election case, maybe they will expedite it. That's possible. But I think it's very, very unlikely. I mean, this is a huge decision. There's going to be like 50 concurrences, 50 dissents, like a plurality of opinions. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be hard for them to write these opinions, come up with a decision. Like, I think it's super unlikely that there's a decision before June.
Yeah, I agree.
So now what we've done instead is just like a plan to make it harder for people to vote.
Yeah, so
like just make it like more confusing.
So qualifying will now be, just so people know the dates, February 11th and through 13th. The primary will be May 16th, and then the runoff will be June 2nd, like primary runoff. And so that will then determine who is running in November during the midterms.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll see. We'll keep you guys updated. But again, like once these things are in motion, which is what the state knows, then it's very hard to change midstream. But like, you know what that means then is that you just have to keep this map for one more election cycle, and then you can come back and do whatever horrible bullshit you want to do after the Supreme Court has ruled for the next cycle. Yeah. So I know they never want to waste an opportunity, but that might be. I was telling you before too that like for Cleo Fields, who was probably going to get, whether it's this time or the next time, like districted out of his own district again. But I heard him on Talk Louisiana the other day, and yeah, according to him, he thinks that the Supreme Court is going to uphold the current map. I was like, oh, that was like a bless your heart. I was like, okay. I think you're probably the only person who thinks that.
I mean, if he's like not seeing the world that clearly, then maybe he doesn't deserve that seat.
Yeah, he's kind of an eternal optimist, and he's a good Democrat. He's not somebody we actually know well, like even when he was in the state legislature. He's from a political dynasty in Baton Rouge, so unlike the legislators who we know well, who needed to build a base from the ground up, he didn't have to do that. So, he's been given a lot, but he also says at the end of the day, basically in every other sentence. So like at the end of the day, I think that Cleo Fields is not going to be able to keep this seat.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day.
Well, and also, worst case scenario, neither of the.
Well, that's, yes, again, it's not, and obviously it's not actually about it's whether we're going to have any districts and for sure whether we're going to have two that are set up in a way at all that make it likely for a Black person to be elected. That's the reality. But yeah, again, Louisiana might just have to wait like one more year before they can operationalize that.
Well, we'll see. Okay, I think the last thing that we should talk about is the Subway sandwich flamethrower was found not guilty in DC by a DC jury.
I love this guy.
All right, so
Yeah,
if
this
people
guy.
don't know the story, this guy threw a Subway sandwich at an agent with U.S. Customs and Border Patrol.
This is
protection.
when, like, yeah, well, I guess it's still happening. Like when DC was being taken over
Mhm.
by troops,
Right.
by the military and ICE,
Yeah.
basically.
So
Yeah.
this guy has a Subway sandwich and he's just like, fuck this, and throws it at this. The agent, mind you, he was wearing a bulletproof vest, but he told the jurors that the sandwich exploded and he was like covered in onions and mustard.
He could smell it. He could smell the mustard.
Yeah. He wasn't hurt because it was a fucking
Obviously.
sandwich.
Obviously. Yeah.
And it's a Subway sandwich, it's not like a baguette that, legitimately
Well, so, yeah. And
crusty.
so to back up on this too, in terms of how it's just a great sign of just resistance. Number one, I like the sandwich throwing. Number two, like citizens of DC, the grand jury refused to indict this guy on a felony, which is what the DOJ initially tried with this same thing, with the use of a sandwich at somebody to somehow make that felony assault. So they couldn't get a grand jury to do that. They did get a grand jury to indict on a misdemeanor.
And then they had a 3-day trial, Ellie, a 3-day trial on a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not a good use of government resources.
No, it is not. But there's been so much reporting about this agent's ridiculous testimony. I have to say also not great lawyering. All around not great lawyering on the side of the folks trying to prosecute this guy. I mean, obviously, like he had to be told, which makes, there has to be some harm, like some sort of harm to you. And with criminal with assault, that like your corporeal person, was somehow invaded, like me going like that in theory is assault. Like assault is actually sort of a low bar. But it's supposed to be something that was like not just hurtful to you, but also puts you in fear, So so they obviously had to coach him how to talk about how horrible this sandwich incident was. And I guess you don't have a lot of material to work with that. But yeah, what they landed on, no pun intended, I guess. Yeah, it was this cockamamie, like hyperbolic version of the smell of the mustard and the onions.
I don't really like mustard. It's a little bit offensive.
I have some friends who really don't like onions too. I'm a huge mustard person, so that's disturbing. I even learned that about you. But yeah.
If I were the defense counsel in this case, I think that I would have really, really, really gone down a line of questioning to really interrogate and pick apart, and I do intend that pun, the contents of the sandwich, like what kind of mustard? Was this a spicy mustard?
So here's the thing though, that is again why this line of theory of how they prepared this witness is stupid. Just in addition to just sounding kind of stupid, that anyone would be this harmed or offended by a sandwich being thrown at them, that the video. So what the defense counsel did instead, of course, was immediately showed there's a video of this that shows that when the sandwich landed on him, it was entirely still wrapped in paper. Yeah, it did not explode. Literally, it must have the wrapped in paper sandwich landed on him and bounced off or whatever. So that's just 101. You would never want to coach a witness to say something that doesn't sound that plausible to begin with and is refuted by video evidence that exists.
Also, this guy's supposed to, he's an agent with U.S.
He should be embarrassed. Exactly.
Really.
I would have been.
I'd have thrown out the P word,
no, but
if I a fucking titty.
I assume that he wasn't dying to give this testimony, but was convinced to do it. That's just an assumption.
Yeah.
He's not the one driving the ship on this, but it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. And I heard Tim Miller say that if it's true that these bulletproof vests are so easily penetrated by a stain, then there's a much bigger problem that needs to be addressed with how we're equipping our agents to anyways.
Well, it's a missed opportunity for this year because Halloween's already passed, but I really do think that anyone who lives in this agent's neighborhood needs to trick or treat him. basically everybody in his neighborhood should dress up as Subway sandwiches.
So there have been, like Banksy style murals that have been painted in DC with like a guy through
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
ceiling.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, again, it's
Like
been
the
like
ball
really
with
great,
tail, but
really
it's a
great with
bouquet.
the resistance.
Yeah, that's good.
But I've been trying to figure out, I love political costumes and I haven't done one in a while. And Mardi Gras is coming, so we don't just have Halloween and
Same
Mardi
too.
Gras. But yeah, we can't let everybody know.
No, it'd be great. I want to see an entire crew
I agree.
of sandwiches.
I know, but anyway.
We could do Subway sandwiches. We could do hoagies. We could do po' boys.
When I lived in New York years ago, we did this whole costume that we would recreate every few blocks. It was a pie eating contest. So everybody was like in costumes that made a big table. And you lined up.
Okay.
And had the pie thing in front of it. I was the round girl. I would walk and go round forever. It was very fun. And then so like every few blocks, then like stop, set it back up, put a bunch of whipped cream like on the pie, and like people eating. So we could do one where it's like then like the throwing, like
Yeah.
get a person
A
in there.
reenactment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, long and short of this is that after all of this effort, after all like 2 grand juries, 3 like
days.
yeah.
Misdemeanor.
Yes,
I really get over that.
Forcing a federal agent to testify absolutely ridiculously
That he is a giant titty baby who really doesn't like mustard.
and who is so significantly harmed by this. The end result is that the guy got acquitted.
That's right, because we're pretty stupid in this country, but we're not that stupid.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well, number one, that people are on the side of the resistance. And legally in this situation, there's no way that they met their burden of showing whatever the criminal elements are. I don't even know what they charged him with, whatever misdemeanor assault that, yes, would require some level of harm, some level of threat, some level of something that like a regular person would be like, yeah, no, man. I mean, I'd be like a little annoyed if somebody threw a sandwich at me, but like, that's the end of the story.
Yeah, good Lord.
Nice tragedy in Bureau.
Well, that's the news.
Lots of pretty good news, other than the snap part, which is outrageous and unconscionable, and I think politically stupid. Then good elections, good on sandwich guy. I think that's the good, bad on the ADL. That's the way.
Yeah. The ADL also are big, giant fucking titty babies.
Obviously.
Yeah, they're overplaying their hand. Okay, well, we'll be back next week. And until then, Ellie, what are the people supposed to do?
Rate, review, and subscribe. It's been a while since I've, told people all the instructions. Yes. Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. We're on all that shit. So you guys get on your shit and start rating, reviewing, subscribing, and telling other folks to do the same. Because otherwise, Michelle's going to stop doing this, just so you guys know. She's threatening to stop. More people don't start watching. I mean, I've been threatening to stop since the beginning. So, now that she's threatening to stop, I'm just letting you guys know. You should really start rating, reviewing, and subscribing.
Keep it going. Keep the day drinking.
That's right. The day drinking and listening to us bitch. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll just be doing it by ourselves. You guys won't get to hear all of our amazing insights. Yeah.
Well, until then.
Seriously is presented by Lift Louisiana, a nonprofit organization advocating for reproductive health rights and justice.